Hey guys, Miss Warren here. Today I'm going to talk about our clay project. We are making clay built coil bells. Now the first step in the project is I asked you to come up with 3 separate ideas. Here's my 3 separate ideas. I'm going with this one. The favorite one, the one I'm going with, I also asked you to draw a cross section. What would it look like if we cut the bell in half? I want to see how the clapper is going to be on the inside and how you're going to attach it. This one, I'm just going to leave a hole in the top, feed the string through, tie a knot so it doesn't pull all the way through, and then tie the clapper to the inside. So there's my design. Now also, before you get started, you need to have your sketch and your plan. I'm also asking that everyone has a gallon-sized baggie with their name on it, a plate with their name on it, a popsicle stick, and a paper clip. This will kind of give us some support when we're moving our piece around. We're going to put everything inside of our bag until our piece is ready to dry. And we need our name on both because when we take it out of the bag, we'll leave it on the plate to dry. And we'll need the popsicle stick and the paper clip as tools. So everyone needs their own of this. At your table, each person needs a placemat. This one has a little bit of clay on it, but that's okay. This keeps your clay from sticking to the table and it keeps the tables a little bit more clean. You need a placemat under you because if the surface is slick, the clay will stick. Also at your table, you need a cup with some water and some sponges. This is for keeping your clay moist. Your clay will dry out and start to crack as you work with it. So you just need to dab a little bit of water on your clay as you're working. Now, if it starts to turn to slime and get all over your hands, you've added too much water. You need to leave it alone for a second and let it dry. Also at each table, there is a cup of slip. Slip is super wet clay, about the texture of yogurt or pancake batter that can be used as clay glue. So at each table, we'll need this. Okay, so I've already started the coil bell that I have planned to make, but I'm going to show y'all how to start off the step by step. So this is what I have so far. I haven't added, here, let me get my sketch. I haven't added the little bee decorations and I haven't made the clapper for the inside. And I think I'm going to make it a little bit longer as well, but I'll put that over to the side. I'm going to show y'all how to start off the assignment. So let me grab a piece of clay. You want to start out with clay about the size of your fist. Now, I don't want to roll all of this out into a coil. This is quite a bit to manage. So I'm going to take about 1/3 to 1/4 of this, something I can manage in my hand like this. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start rolling it until I start getting a snake of clay. Now you want your coils to be about as thick as your finger. So we're going for about this thick, maybe your thumb, in that range. Any thinner and your piece will become weak and be likely to break. Any thicker and it will take a really long time to dry. Then you can roll it out on the table as well. If your cloth, you see how I'm holding my cloth still so it doesn't roll on me. If you have something to weigh it down so it doesn't roll up on you, you can do it that way as well. If you roll it on the table without a cloth under you, make sure it's not wet so it doesn't stick. And also make sure that you wipe your table when you're done because it will leave a lot of dust. So I'm going to show y'all, if you choose to roll it off your towel, it has to be not too wet. But you can see it's leaving a little bit of dust right here, so I'm going to have to wipe up my table when I'm done. I'm going to continue rolling. It's getting a little bit flat, so I'm going to take it and roll it in my hand some. Okay, so this is a little bit flat on one side, but we've got the start to a coil. Now, I wouldn't make the coil any longer than from the tip of your finger to your elbow because then it gets a little bit big to manage. It gets a little bit hard to control. So this is good for the base of our clay. Let me roll this center part out just a little bit. See, already it's getting kind of hard to control. Okay, so there we have a basic coil. Okay, now we're going to decide how big we want the bottom of our bell. Now, size requirements for my assignment is this would be the size of the smallest bell that you could make, so the bottom would have to be this big around. The biggest, the bottom could be as big as this plate. So let me look here and see what I have when I coil it up. Yep, so this would be about the biggest we would want to make the base. This is the very first coil on our bell. So if I want to stick these two edges together, that's when my other tools come in. So every time you're sticking two pieces of clay together, we're going to use a method called scoring and slipping. To score means to scratch deeply. So I want to glue these two ends together. So I'm going to score it in a kind of a crisscross pattern, make sure it's nice and textured on both sides. And then I'm going to add the slip. Now you can add slip with your fingers or you can use a paintbrush if there's one in there. I'm going to just fill all those little cracks with slip. And the slip will act as clay glue. Now I'm going to take the two sides and I'm going to press them together till that slip squishes out. Okay. Now this might stay, but I'm going to blend that little crease that I made. Kind of smooth it out, make it one solid piece. With my popsicle stick here. Flip it over so I can get the other side. Smooth that out with my finger. Okay. You'll do that process anytime you want to glue two pieces together. Okay, so there's my base. Now, if I'm ready for the next ring, I'm going to take another piece of clay about the same size. If I want my bell to start getting smaller at the top, my next ring is going to be a little bit smaller and fit on the inside, not exactly on top of the ring, but a little bit to the inside. So let me go ahead and start rolling this out. Place that over to the side so I can start rolling this here. If you feel an area get a little bit thick, kind of press on that area a little bit more than the other areas. It tends to flatten out when I roll it on the table, but when I roll it up in my hands, it tends to get a little rounder. Okay, let's see, what do we got going on here? Let me compare it to the rest of it. Okay, so this is a little bit longer than I need, especially if I'm going to get a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and measure that, and I'm going to pinch off the extra. You can also use your paper clip to cut off the extra if you want a smoother cut there. So now I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to score up the ends. I'm going to add some slip. Like I said, you could use your fingers or a brush. I'm going to press together. I'm going to smooth out the edges. Okay, now I'm going to score all along this edge where I want to glue it together and score all along this edge. You have to do this on every layer or else it will fall apart. You must score and slip. Every year I have students that think that they can just slip or they can just push the clay together, but when you fire it, it likes to pull apart. This is making that bond really strong. I'm going to make the scoring kind of crisscrossed, not just all one direction. Do the same over here. Sometimes you can get a tool that's specifically for scoring, but paper clips work just fine. And if you lose them or they get damaged, they're not expensive to replace. So I'm doing the crisscross, adding some texture. Okay, now I'm going to put slip on both sides. So I'm going to fill all these little cracks with slip on this side. And this is true of gluing any two pieces together. If it has a little bit of texture to it for the glue to run into, it's going to stick a little bit better. This is true when gluing two pieces of wood together or two pieces of metal. If you like rough it up with like sandpaper or something, it's going to glue and stick a little bit better. Okay, make sure I got all those cracks. A bit of slip in them. Okay, now I'm going to press my two layers together. Until the slip starts to squish out the edges. Now I have my second layer. Now, if you want to keep your rings like this on the outside, you can do so. And in one of my sketches, I did regular rings, then a zigzag coil. That's where I would take the coil and then I would kind of fold it up. And then I did a regular one, and then I did a bunch of little beads of clay, and then I did another regular one. So if you want the stripes and lines like this to show, I know it looks a little bit lumpy, you smooth it in on the inside. But if you want to hide all this texture and all these kind of bumps, you're going to smooth it on the outside. You can do both. That will make your bond much stronger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, and I'm going to take my popsicle stick, and I'm going to blend the two pieces together like this. You see how I'm supporting it with my hand on the inside? I'm not just doing it. And then I can smooth it out this way with the popsicle stick. In addition to keeping your clay from drying, you can also use the damp sponges to smooth this out further. Take your finger and run it over the surface. That will smooth it out some more. You see this little crack here. I kind of smooth that out with the popsicle stick. Now, that's what I'm doing around the outside. You can also place it down like this on your plate. I'm supporting it from the inside with my hand so it doesn't just fall apart. And I'm blending the top and the bottom together. I'm pushing down a little bit. I'm scooping up a little bit. I'm going to go all the way around, blending the two pieces together. The plate also makes it easier to rotate your piece as you're working. I'm going to kind of scoop that in, smooth that outside a little bit more, come in with the sponge, smooth around the outside a little bit more. And there I have the base of my bell started. If you want it to start to get taller, you just do the same process again. You roll out your clay, and then you score and slip on the next layer until you get it the shape you want it. So that's it for starting your clay bell. I look forward to seeing your work.